President just now in the Oval Office made an offhand remark that a lot of progress was being made on Russia and Ukraine. You don't think he gets on a plane this weekend, do you?
I don't think he's going to get on a plane this weekend, but his folks might. I mean, I could see Secretary Rubio or Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, who've been working this, getting on a plane. You know, this, if anything, what's fascinating with this is that things are progressing mainly because President Zelensky is trying to play his cards the best way possible, right? He's engaging, even though the 28-point peace plan that was offered a few weeks ago was really, frankly, pro-Russia. And Russia was going to stand to gain the most out of that. And so, but Zelensky is still showing his willingness to engage, countering back with his own proposal that shows that he's trying his best to work with Trump and trying to compromise. And that in the long term is really going to work out in his favor. But I don't expect Trump to jump on a plane this weekend, no.
Okay, well, interesting, because we've been hearing a lot about Ukraine recently, and there's been talk of President Zelensky coming back to town at some point. And of course, we saw this 28-point peace proposal shrink to something like 18 points once Ukraine got its hands on it. You've been involved in the peace process before, Hagar. To what extent will this continue to evolve?
Sure. Well, I mean, in that regard, it's normal, right? It's normal to come out with something first and then for that to be whittled down or for it to change. The fact is that the original 28-point peace plan really crossed too many red lines for Ukraine. Things like preventing them from ever applying for NATO membership, whittling the size of their military down to a size that was way too small. And most importantly, ceding land in the east of Ukraine that Russia does not currently control. That is a major no-no, not just for Ukraine, but by the way, in the negotiation of any war. And so to end any war. And so that said, though that plan really did come off to a lot of us. And by the way, it appears to Secretary Rubio as well, because he's the one who quickly got his hands on it and quickly tried to soften a lot of those points. It came off to a lot of us foreign policy experts as pro-Russia, as leaning too favorably toward Russia. Right. So the fact that Zelensky came back, so now he's compromised. He's been able to increase the size of the military, get rid of that point about not being able to apply for NATO membership. But the 2 points in particular that are hallmarks of what he is coming back with is, number one, he's not willing to cede land that Russia doesn't currently control. But that means he's open to other parts of land. And then the other piece is that he's demanding U.S. and European security agreements, guarantees in case Russia were to ever attack again. And frankly, if I were him, I would stick to my guns on that one.
Interesting. Hagar, it's really something this moment in time as the president seeks peace in Ukraine. He's beaten the drum in the Caribbean, and it's been pretty remarkable to see some of the actions most recently leading up to the seizure of an oil tanker. But of course, we've seen the destruction, strikes against alleged drug boats, more than 20 of them, I think, at this point, and big questions about the policy, questions about the legality. And there's a new movement on Capitol Hill to address congressional war powers, something I talked about earlier today with Congressman Jim McGovern, the Democrat from Massachusetts, introduced a war powers bill a couple weeks ago. It looks like it'll be ripe to hit the floor next week. Here's what he said.
I think it's oil, quite frankly. Yeah. I think this president is not about promoting human rights. He doesn't give a damn about democracy. And this is not about drugs. I mean, he pardoned the former president of Honduras, who's one of the biggest narco traffickers in the world.
Hundreds of tons of cocaine.
So I think, there must be some financial interest in pursuing this policy for the president, because that's all he really cares about.
That's the view from a Democrat who is a critic of the president. Of course, there are a lot of members on Capitol Hill who support what's going on right now, Hagar. Do you see a piece of legislation like that having any chance to pass?
Yeah, well, so first on what McGovern is saying, he's lacking a lot of nuance. I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that's not what this boils down to. I mean, the goal.
You don't think it's about oil?
No, I mean, I think, listen, let me give you the broader strategy of this. The fact is that Trump, yes, President Trump wants, as is very common of a MAGA foreign policy, which is quite isolationist, he wants something that benefits the United States. So it's not just oil, it's actually also mines that have not been, vast resources that have not been mined yet in Venezuela. So it's both, right? And we can absolutely, that is a key feature of it, but it's not the only feature. What is landing us in the current strategy is an entire policy that was crafted by Secretary Rubio. Rubio cannot stand the idea of doing an economic deal with a dictator, one whom Rubio believes, rightfully so, also props up the Cuban communist regime. So he views the fall of Maduro as interlinked with the fall of the Cuban regime. So he went to Trump and said, listen, you don't want drugs. This is a big thing for a hallmark of your policy, of your administration in general. And you want these economic resources for the United States. That's what drives you. Fine. I have a way of having our cake and eat it too. I want to go after Maduro, and this is the strategy I propose, right? Threatening military action, thumping their chest, also targeting the shadow economy that props up Maduro, because there are all these other benefits there related to democracy, human rights, the fall of these dictatorships. So it lacks nuance to say. I'm not saying that McGovern is entirely wrong, but he's also not right. It lacks real nuance to say that it's only for this reason. It's all of it all together. It's a package deal that comes in general. And it's fascinating because you're seeing Maduro be quite fearful. He is trying to make deals with the administration, and because he is genuinely afraid. And those deals have been rejected. The latest one was a few weeks ago. And the Trump administration said no. And the reason for that, apparently in that deal, Maduro was offering access to the economic resources, and the Trump administration said no, which undermines the point McGovern is making.